How you doing, guys? Welcome back. It's LSP. It's currently the 30th of November 2021. I'm going to be doing analysis for CHSB today for the Hollywood squad over at the DAO at Swissborg. So before I get into the analysis, as always, guys, these are just my thoughts and opinions. So please make sure you do your own research, due diligence, and everything that I'm talking about just for educational purposes only. So let's go into CHSB into a little bit more in-depth analysis today. We've obviously had recently a nice little run, okay, and during that time there was a lot of excitement. People thought that CHSB was just going to rip and explode, and sometimes when you sit through all of this, I've already mentioned this, so I'm not going to kind of go into this too much, but when you sit through something like this that's so sort of exhausting and draining, and you're kind of expecting something and nothing's happening, and then you get some movement, it's very easy to fall into the trap of assuming that that movement is, bigger than it actually is. Okay, doesn't mean that CHSB won't go to, the numbers that we're expecting, but in the end, we have to take a step back and just be objective about the analysis that we're doing and making sure that we're really paying attention to the liquidity, the levels that we're, interested in, the flows, the distribution of buy and sell. When we look at all of these things together, it gives us a much clearer picture as to what we can expect. So we've had the initial breakout, okay, and just to make things a little bit easier, effectively, this is really the range, okay. Obviously we've got wicks either side, but that's basically the range, and we've had a nice breakout from that range, okay. It's pretty decent. We've since come all the way back, and you can see the reaction just here, okay. So we can at least say this, in terms of what we're noticing to start with. We've had a breakout, and then we've come all the way back into the original consolidation, and price has responded at least here once, okay? Started to move up, and then if we zoom in and just take a little bit of a closer look, we can see we've had that first initial response. Price started to move up, then it came down, and you can see that it went into this candle, okay, so it's picking up liquidity. Yeah, this is definitely picking up buy liquidity. It's already picked up one buy liquidity, it's picking up buy liquidity again. So we have to drop down to lower time frames and kind of get a feel for how that looks, okay. And when we look at the 4-hour chart, we can kind of refine it a little bit more. The pool itself is about, it's there. So there's the liquidity pool, okay, and you can see that price has come into it, and it's spent a little bit of time there, accumulating some buy liquidity, and we've had a nice run away from that. Notice the run, okay, this is important. Didn't just go there and just kind of bounce a little bit and then just kind of start going sideways again. If that happened, it would have been another kind of round of staying in the range unless an injection of volatility comes into CHSB. But that's not what we're seeing. We can see that we spent a little bit of time down here. We have accumulated some buy liquidity, and then we had a nice run away from that, okay. Whatever liquidity was here as price, and we know there's liquidity here. So whatever liquidity was there, price just went straight through that, wasn't interested. Okay, so it's hardly of any value, effectively. We've since come back down. There is something that's happening within all of this. It's called an order flow shift, okay, and it's basically resting on a balanced price range, which means when price rebalances, it refreshes and starts again, okay. Now, it's the easiest way that I can explain it without going into a really in-depth video. But it's sitting right on a balanced price range. In a nutshell, if price gets below, where are we? What should we use? Yeah, if price gets below, we're going to call it 65, okay? And I'll adjust this in a second, but if we get below about 65, that'll do. So if we get below 65, then I would expect a little bit more downside. The likelihood of that happening at this moment in time, not likely going into the weekend, yeah, especially with Bitcoin starting to have a nice run again. Ethereum started to pop again, so we're getting a lot of upward momentum, and we're probably going to see that last week of volume coming back into the market, or should I say volume, maintaining volume in the market before it starts to recede before Christmas. So this year is actually very interesting because during December, I think we're going to be pleasantly surprised. So be mindful of that. Be mindful of the volumes that they will start to dry up, but also be mindful that this year's been very, very strange with everything that's been going on globally. You know, obviously the markets as well as just everyday news and things that have been happening around the world globally. It's been a very odd year, you know, and people have been tested. There's been a lot going on. So I think this December is going to be very interesting. We'll say it like that. Okay, so we're sitting on a balanced price range going forward from here, and this is just on the hourly chart. Okay, sorry, on the 4-hour chart. This is effectively the level that we need to get through. Okay, now how it gets through this, if it gets through this, it will be dependent on whether or not we get this injection of volatility. But right now, we've already had the first step of what could potentially be some follow through all the way back up to around about 80 to 85. Okay, if we get there, then that would be fantastic, and we should hold at that point. But as it stands right now, I would want to see price maintain this area right here. I don't want to see price go any lower. You know, I'd say at the very least, or should I say at the very maximum, 66. But I don't want price going past 66. You know, right now, if price holds here, okay, and then starts to run to the upside with a little bit of oomph, as they say, and starts to challenge this area up here. It's already tapped into it once. You know, so we should see a deeper run into this if it does get there. Maintain 75, get through this, and then we should start to challenge 85, 86, and then hold. You know, that's my ideal scenario. We'll say it like that. Okay, so all in all, Swissborg's doing well. It's holding pretty well. You know, I am seeing signs of liquidity flowing, into the buy side. It's been accumulated absolutely 100%, to the buy side. So, whether or not that will reflect on the chart in the coming days and then going into the weekend, we'll see. But as it stands, everything's looking great on CHSB. And with that said, hope everyone's having an absolutely fantastic day, and I look forward to speaking to you in the next update. All the best and take care.